Oh, bloody hell, video games look exhausting, don't they? Well, they are if every film and TV show are to be believed, what with all the exaggerated leaning, furious shouting, and frenzied button mashing. Can you stop with the clicking, please? Over recent cinematic history, only one thing has been treated worse than video game movie adaptations, and that is the portrayal of video games in movies. What might seem like a trivial detail to a director, writer, or stagehand can make a huge difference to even the most casual video game enthusiast. We're talking about silliness ranging from Sega Game Gears that play without a cartridge to James Bond himself coming out of retirement only to sit through a completely made-up game. Sorry, Shaun, we've got no idea what's going on either. Yes, ignorance might have been understandable about 30 years ago, but even today, TV and film still have no clue about how to represent this monumentally successful entertainment industry without stupid theatrics, unnatural product placements, or disingenuous writing that screams, "How do you do, fellow nerds?" Hey, they said a video game word, how relatable, ha ha, cue laugh track. It all feels so uncomfortable, so let's laugh at some of the worst ones to feel a bit better, shall we? I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are 10 times movies and TV awkwardly featured video games. Number 10. The Sopranos, Mario Kart. After a long day of crime organizing and whacking dudes, there's nothing like kicking back with a chilled session of Mario Kart to take the edge off. What, you thought a mob boss would fire up something like GTA? Don't be silly, it's his time off for goodness sake. Honestly, this entry is for all those small video game cameos in TV with bizarre appearances seemingly based on whoever could license us 2 minutes of footage for the lowest price. But we decided on Soprano Kart for the hilarious juxtaposition of an Italian-American Don playing as another Italian leader of a large influential family. You know what, it starts to make sense now we think about it. What doesn't make sense is how Big Tone is playing with one hand, accelerating without even touching the A button. Now, we understand that N64 controllers were a law unto themselves, but it still doesn't explain his kid hitting the console reset button for the quickest race restart in history, or the "watch out for ghost" comments on Luigi's Raceway. What ghosts? This is pre-Luigi's Mansion, guys! I mean, come on! Still, it's always nice to hear a good "I'm a Wario, I'm a gonna win" in your serious mafia drama. Number 9. Shaun of the Dead, TimeSplitters 2. So let's state for the record that we're not about to criticize this classic spoof of zombie horror flicks. We love it, okay? Hell, the holy trinity of Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost have done video games a lot more justice than 99% of TV and film, going back to Spaced and its homage to Resident Evil 2, among other things. And it was nice to see TimeSplitters 2, another cult classic, feature early on with the callbacks in a later scene of actual zombie hunting, a stroke of genius. But, as much as we love the film, there is one discrepancy that can't go unmentioned. Yeah, you guessed it.
Player 2 has entered the game.
Sadly, TimeSplitters 2 didn't actually have a jump-in multiplayer feature midway through a match or an announcer with those lines, as much as we'd have welcomed it back then. But we get it, we know it's all for comedic effect, and we don't want to be seen as that kind of, actually nitpicker, so we'll gladly let this one slide for the sake of great cinema. Please don't dislike the video. Number 8. Disturbia, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Damn it! Oh, you almost had it! An on-screen video game appearance that looked normal. In 2007's Disturbia, we see a young, actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf doing what plenty of teenagers do. Not that! We mean playing video games, or more specifically, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter on the Xbox 360. Everything seems natural, at first. While Hollywood superstar Shia LaBeouf goes a little bit E3 live demo with his serious faux military callouts through the headset, at least he's not attacking the controller buttons like an angry child with a fidget cube. But when his Xbox Live subscription runs out and kicks him from the game, that's when we see it. Now, it's been a while since we've gazed at the classic 360 Blades dashboard design, but there's something not quite right about this one. Maybe it's the font, the menu, or the... Oh, Jesus! Access denied? We're just logging into Xbox Live, not trying to hack the Pentagon! All the credit in the world to the team that tried to recreate an accurate 360 interface, but why? Why go that far for accuracy and then make that part look so weird? Number 7. True Blood, Nintendo Wii. Vampires seem like a perfect untapped market for games consoles. They need something to do to keep them busy during daylight hours after all, so we can certainly see the logic of having the Nintendo Wii as a recurring extra in True Blood. But these cameos feel as uncomfortable as a bloodsucker on a sunbed. Nice. In Season 1, protagonist Bill Compton enjoys a round of golf with the Wii, except it's not Wii Sports Golf or Tiger Woods or any recognizable ball-whacking game, just an actual photo of a golf green and some extremely false advertising for the Wii's graphical capabilities. Speaking of adverts, another character begins pitching the awesome features of the Wii, completely oblivious of his lady friend's advances. And the show also gave us this crazed, cackling lady flailing at an early build copy of Dead Space Extraction. The episode was filmed before the game's September 2009 release, hence it looking a bit wonkums. But as out of place as this scene was, it at least proved EA wrong 2 years later with their Dead Space 2 campaign promise that all moms will hate this game. Oh really, EA? Really? Number 6. Grosse Point Blank. Doom 2 arcade version. One of the 12 billion films that starred John Cusack in the late 90s, Grosse Point Blank saw the boombox lifter star as a hitman looking to get away from the messy business of killing. The film also cast another expert in violence, id Software's Doom 2, in an unfamiliar role, that of an arcade cabinet. When the more gaming literate viewers first saw this in 1997, they wondered where this rare arcade version had been all their lives, but the answer was nowhere, because it doesn't exist, it never did. This blatant lie was a custom prop built especially for the movie, used in a scene where Mr. Cusack has his shopping run interrupted by an intense gunfight. All the while, the Doom fan is oblivious, too absorbed with this gaming anomaly and the Motorhead soundtrack blaring presumably from his high-tech Sony Walkman to care about actual bullets. The sad part is that by the time we realise how brilliant a Doom 2 arcade machine would have been, the store has already been blown up by what can only be described as a microwave bomb. This is why we can't have nice things. Number 5. Hurt Locker. Gears of War. The Hurt Locker released in 2009 to critical acclaim, shining a light on the bravery of the US Army bomb disposal squads during the Iraq War. Yet it caught some flack after its debut due to various inconsistencies and anachronisms. Now, obviously we're just weak-armed gaming boys who aren't remotely qualified to comment on the brutal realities of war, but we can say that for a film set in 2004, we have references to YouTube, founded in 2005, an iPod Touch, 2007, and an Xbox 360 console released in 2005. Not only that, but the scene shows specialist Owen Eldridge unwinding with a bit of Gears of War, another gift from the far-flung future of 2006. Outrageous, take the awards away. I mean, is it too much to ask for in our gritty, realistic war film to have a realistic depiction of an unrealistic cover shooter that involves shooting unreal monsters with unrealistically top-heavy meatheads and less time travel? Chalk this one up to time travel? That's fair, we can live with that. Number 4. The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Even this classic mid-2000s comedy isn't clean from your standard nerd culture stereotypes. But the worst culprit isn't how they use habitual gaming as a cause of decades-long celibacy. It's a tired trope, but it's all tongue-in-cheek because, you know, it's a comedy. Nor do we mean the ridiculous gaming chair. It's completely overkill for Tony Hawk's Underground 2, sure, but hey, you know, comedic effect, right? We'll forgive it. However, Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd playing a casual match of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance have made themselves look a little silly, if we're honest. See that N64 controller? The one being unceremoniously mashed by Seth Rogen? Rather, strange, isn't it, Seth, that the game didn't come out for that console? You probably just hacked it to work with a GameCube, haven't you? Yeah, that's it. I mean, you've made a career out of being a stoner layabout type who definitely knows about video games because stereotypes, so yeah. And yes, we realise the irony of getting overly nitpicky about a film literally called The 40-Year-Old Virgin, but hey, if we don't point these out, then literally no one else will. Probably care either way. Look, more importantly, does anybody want to buy a gaming chair? Yes? No? Any takers? Just call me. Number 3. Scrubs. Halo, but actually Quake Wars. Now, this is a textbook TV video game diagnosis. All of the symptoms are here: overexcited pressing of all the buttons, a non-wireless controller that isn't plugged in, 2 players attempting to play on a single player screen, and the several Halo references to warthogs, jackals, and the like that make little sense when they're not even playing Halo, but they are playing enemy territory Quake Wars. The series has made a few other nods to gaming culture, with dated references to Space Invaders and Pac-Man being passable at best, but this clumsy portrayal of not Halo is inexcusable. A slightly better diagnosis for a fellow medical drama, however, is the chronically sarcastic Dr. House, who clearly had a thing for handhelds. House featured Metroid Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance, Metroid Prime Hunters for the DS, and even a PSP that recurred in later episodes. See that, Scrubs? Continuity. It's important. Yes, it's still product placement, but handled with a bit more subtlety, less overacting, and a very touching scene that introduces the PSP when it was given to House by a grateful boy who overcame his autism to look the Doctor directly in the eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, the power of video games. Number 2. House of Cards, PlayStation Vita. We've seen the PSP make a half-convincing appearance on House, but when the PS Vita shows up in House of Cards, all sense of subtlety comes crashing down like, well, you know. This completely unnecessary inclusion in the middle of an episode is so obviously an advert for the system, we're surprised they didn't get Kevin Butler to burst in and start plugging the PlayStation Move. As the scandal-pending and not yet scandal-confirmed version of Kevin Spacey is about to discuss business, he very clearly points out a PS Vita, taking care not to just call it a Vita like most of us, and asks which games it has, to which the bemused father shrugs and replies, all of them. That's right, all of the games! All 7 of the games! We're joking, Vita, we love you really, come back. Even more egregious is the blatant promotion for browser game Agario, or Agar.io, where they literally go through the features of the game and how it's played. Come on, Spacey! We know you got the big bucks for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare when he was still scandal pending, of course, but you don't have to plug every single video game. Number 1. The Wizard, 1989. Super Mario Bros. 3 and The Power Glove. Oh boy. This is what happens when cheesy 80s kids movies and video game promotion reach critical mass. The Wizard released in 1989 to a critical panning, but despite this amassed quite a cult following for being one of those so bad it's kind of good films. It was essentially a 96-minute long advert for the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, and of course they crammed in as many awkward game references and appearances as they possibly could. The plot revolves around a talented young game enthusiast and his entourage as they travel to what is basically the biggest esports event in the 80s, the Video Armageddon. With a name like that, we can only imagine what sort of intense, highly competitive multiplayer games they'll be competing at. Oh, it's Super Mario Bros. 3. Of course it is, yeah. A game, we should add, that wouldn't be released in the US until a year later. Be prepared for dramatic scenes like losing a life and having to start a level over, a clutch warp zone activation, and naturally, a giant countdown clock. It's all so gloriously terrible. Best gaming appearance of the film, however, goes to the Nintendo Power Glove. After an unconvincing demo from an overly smug child, we get this immortal line.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
We couldn't have said it better ourselves. And there we are. Those were rather awkward, weren't they? Why can't movies or TV shows get it right? Are there any on-screen video game moments that made you cringe apart? Don't say this one. Don't be like that. Don't say this one. And most importantly, does anyone want this gaming chair? You can follow myself and TripleJump on Twitter here, and while you're at it, why not support the things you enjoy by having a look at our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.